Many businesses have already booked their 2022 staff Christmas party. But has your business booked its 2022 annual general meeting? A trend that we're seeing that's concerning us in diligence is that companies, particularly in the last 2 years with the pandemic, have not been good at convening their shareholder annual general meetings. As you can probably guess from the timing of this video, there's an imminent deadline approaching for the majority of all Irish companies, and I'm here to explain to you what you need to know about the annual general meeting. So what is the annual general meeting? Well, as the name suggests, it's a meeting of the shareholders that companies need to have every calendar year and within 9 months of the end of their financial year. So for companies with a 31 December financial year end, that means your deadline for your annual general meeting is the end of September. If your business has a financial year end that's not 31 December, the position is a bit more complicated, so please do speak to us. And more importantly, if you've missed this deadline or if you haven't had an AGM in previous years, don't panic, speak to us, we can certainly help. What happens then at the annual general meeting? Well, it's not an unstructured meeting. There's a couple of specific topics that company law requires you to discuss, and I'll mention just 2 of them. First, you need to have a review of the affairs of the company, and second, you need to review the annual financial statements. The review of the company's affairs is an interesting one because it's not prescribed by company law exactly what you need to do, and practice really does vary between companies. In some companies, this is a mere formality. In other companies, this is absolutely not a mere formality, and there can be some pretty heated exchanges between shareholders and directors about how the company has run. The proverbial clock, therefore, is ticking. So who do you need to notify, and how much notice do you need to give? Well, notice needs to be given to shareholders of the company and the auditors, if you have auditors. Which shareholders are entitled to notice will depend on any rights shareholders have in the constitution of the company, as well as any rights in a shareholders agreement. For example, your business might have employee shareholders, but they may or may not be entitled to notice of the meeting. An interesting corollary is also who is not entitled to notice, and that is generally anyone who doesn't hold shares. Investors, for example, with convertible loan notes, option holders, safe holders, are not automatically entitled to notice of the meeting. But again, check your shareholders agreements, see if they do have any special entitlements to notice. In terms of how much notice you must give, you need to give 21 clear days notice. So that excludes the day you send the notice and they receive the notice. So it's usually at least 23 days in practice. That means effectively you need to nominate a date and work back effectively 4 weeks from then. We're often asked, are there any exemptions from holding an AGM? Because this sounds like quite an onerous process. If I'm a small and medium-sized enterprise and I'm audit exempt, does that mean I'm automatically exempt from an AGM as well? Unfortunately, the answer is no. Likewise, if you're a wholly owned Irish subsidiary, are you also exempt from an AGM? Again, unfortunately, you're not. But there is a useful waiver process that actually is applicable and quite useful for subsidiaries and some other companies. So if all of the shareholders of a business, and again, check your shareholders agreement, consent to waiving the requirement to an AGM, you can dispense with it. But this comes with a couple of particular limitations around timing, and companies limited by guarantee, that's the company type usually used for charities, owner management companies and sports companies, those companies can't avail of this exemption and they must have an AGM every year. We cannot help you to organise your Christmas party, but we can help you with your AGM. So if you've missed a deadline this year, or if you haven't had an AGM in previous years, remember, don't panic, get your accounts sorted as soon as you can, pick a deadline to have your AGM, and get in touch with us to find out how we can help you manage the process. Remember, the mantra here is very much better late than never.